Channel, Chanel Lingenfelder. I am Kuthumi and I come forward upon the rays of love and wisdom to greet thee at this time and gift unto thee a divine blessing of emotional expression. Beloved ones, the essence of emotion is a most divine gift, gifted unto humanity to enable them to express from deep within, to the world out there. Now the world out there may not necessarily be a place on the outside of the self, although most perceive it to be, but in fact, the world out there is also a world within the self which the self begins to integrate as it allows the expression of emotion, and when the expression of emotion takes one onto a journey of greater understanding of the self, it has to be done within the essence of surrender, thus to surrender into the higher emotions of self. Each comes to face this doorway, some for a prolonged now, perhaps during a specific time of your journey, or perhaps a few days of the week, or perhaps simply in the current sector of the process that you are going through. It matters not, as all is relative. You see, what you are facing at this inner doorway of the heart is to enable yourself to express your emotions by surrendering into the power thereof instead of using the power behind the emotion, thus the anger, pain, or discomfort which pushes or propels you into a direction of different or adverse expression. Beloved ones, the pathway of emotion is a beautiful one. Perhaps many misunderstand the concept of emotion and relate that to the lower emotional field, which usually stems from the sacral area, which is more of an erratic expression of unbalanced energy of overactive emotions, like an unpredictable volcano, than that of the most beautiful, most incredible placid lake, a lake nestled amongst mountains up high, a lake supported by the weight and the divine structure of the mountains. That is where you find the inner heart. That is where you find the bliss and balance of your higher emotions. The lake surrenders its trust to the mountains to keep it, so should you surrender into and trust your higher heart. Humanity as a whole must find the treasure map that gifts them the pointers of discovering their emotional field, which can be rather tricky to say the least. Most of humanity, your beloved brothers and sisters, are still in a process of awakening and rediscovering, or not discovering. Some have already discovered who they are, some discovered this the moment they woke up on this beautiful planet, whilst others discover something new in themselves every single day, yet there is nothing new. They remember or rearrange their memories, thus emotions, and with time they begin to integrate newer aspects through allowance, thus giving themselves permission to do so. Some of the aspects they believe to be new are simply being rediscovered through the expanding mind and higher emotions. In the process of rediscovering the self, one must face the golden pillar of emotion, and for the average being to be able to tap into and work through and process it, thus be able to express that emotion in a balanced way, they have to allow themselves the gift of surrender, for only once you are totally and absolutely able to surrender into that which is of a higher expression, are you able to begin to embrace the area of truth that you stand within, which proves to be tricky at most times for humanity as a whole. Beloved ones, this is a planet of emotion. Most of humanity have been generally restricted in many ways to express their emotions along the way, be that as a teenager, a toddler, and many adults up to this very day. Some are in the prime of their being and still restricted by some or the other process or organization or person that makes them feel that they are unable to hold the divine expression of their emotion. When you surrender into your own emotional field, the essence of love is what must encapsulate you first. And when you are able to express with loving emotion, and that expression is further encapsulated within the crystalline thought process of surrender, clarity, and tranquility, you then express from within the higher or sacred heart. I understand very well, although some may beg to differ, the immense trauma some of you are facing and experiencing at a crossroads, having to choose between situations. The easiest way, beloved ones, to find direction in all of that is to place yourself in the very center of that pathway by surrendering your emotions into your inner heart space, allowing your heart space to project back into your emotional field absolute bliss, tranquility, and calm. It is from that space that you are able to take yourself to the next level of decision making, for the lower emotions is what usually sends you tumbling. For humanity becomes over-emotional as they allow their emotions to run away with them, instead of using emotion as a beautiful flower, instead of using emotion as your pearl, instead of using your emotions to birth your compassion for you to express from. Instead, they use emotion as a tool of rage, control, war, and anger. Thus, they use emotion as a weapon, and that is not why or how emotions should be integrated and expressed, let alone used. By working with your emotional body, you work with the essence of self that is able to truly express on a physical level what is feels internally, and what you feel internally should be entirely based upon your heart space. Thus where your heart is at, that is the divine expression of your being, that is who you truly are. Beloved ones, when every single aspect of you come together in one divine expression, you have what you call the physical reflection of your soul song, which can only be expressed through the divine levels of the Sacred Heart, and until the Sacred Heart is able to take that expression and work through it, in other words, until you are able to surrender into your higher emotions in a balanced way, the lower heart expression reflects unto the personality self that which it claims, which is usually influenced by the lower ego. Next, the combination of the first three chakras joins the unevolved heart, which expresses its demands through the lower throat on how you see yourself, as you continuously affirm it, along with how you think the world sees you according to your own unevolved third eye level, and in many ways the outcome of that, the eventual expression of that, shows itself in this world through the unevolved crown as limited belief systems suffering under the lower emotions of control. You must surrender into your higher emotions to enable the self to tap into a greater expression of the self, and therefore to be able to expand from the heart space into an unbelievable world of creation which is yours for the grabs. It is waiting for you, but as with every stage in your life, it is a step-by-step process, and unfortunately, like I said, some are unable to express their emotions from a higher divine state, and therefore they use it as a weapon within the lower state. And what does the sacral chakra declare in an imbalanced state? War. Yes, the base center is where you initially formulate or plan war, but it is from the sacral that you go ahead, that you get your guns, ammunition, together, and you say, we are now declaring war, we are at war. This is the unbalanced side of the emotions that sends you tippling over, time and again, yet if you could but stop yourself in that very moment, which is what is required of you, to be able to stop yourself during moments of total disregard for the self and all else, and retract every imbalanced emotional expression instead of declaring war, that's when you surrender your lower into higher emotions. Emotions are a most important aspect of this world, as it is your way of expression, in case you have not realized this, as some can be emotionally dead. Smirk. Yes, there are some that are unable to give their emotion the light of day, and then there are those that are so emotional and so dramatic it runs away with them, with the majority totally unaware that they have to bring the lower into the higher for their lives to come into balance. So the key to focus on for this discussion is surrendering into your higher emotions for you to expand and grow as a being, for you to be able to integrate what you have learned, for you to be able to create a platform to express from, to prepare from, and to propel yourself from. That is what the higher heart space offers, the peaceful bliss of this beautiful placid lake high up in the mountains. Why high up in the mountains? Because it takes a trek to get there. If it wasn't, beloved ones, can you imagine the abuse surrounding it? Yes, you can, because many live within that abuse. You see it daily, some of you are a part of it, some create it, and some are suffering because of it. This lake of your divinity and thus serenity is a sacred space with the most magnificent waterfalls all around it. Some naturally fall down into your valleys below, whilst others intentionally pours from it, trickling its beautiful essences as suggestions for growth, evolution, and change. Then to allow that higher understanding and perspective to trickle down from this beautiful lake into the lower or average heart space. The heart space then has to come to terms with this and work through it, and if not, it simply spills into the lower emotional field, into the murky ponds, yes. But, from those ponds too eventually emerges the most beautiful flowers, the most beautiful inspirational energy ever imagined, and so it continues. Beloved ones, to enable you to get into a space of total bliss, serenity, and surrender into the absolute core essence of the sacredness of self, you must surrender into the sacredness of all that is, which comes with a formula of love, intention, intuition, imagination, permission, integration, higher emotional surrender, and so on, which we are currently discussing. By following these formulas, you create a divine metaphoric platform like your own sacred lake. You begin to tap into the mountains, you begin to see things and hear and feel things from a much higher level, higher than what you were previously accustomed to within the first 5 senses, as the mountains becomes the bridge between the lake and the totality, the possibility, and the truth of all that exists within, as without. This formula of love asks that you keep your lower emotions in check and in so doing surrender into your higher emotions. Understand that when you do so, you not only knock but so too do you open the doorway of truth of the throat, which facilitates your spiritual transformation by recognizing your divinity within, which is what we are presenting to you through these conversations, slowly, step by step and bit by bit. You are currently facing one of the most challenging platforms of the times, the heart, which relates in years to the center part of your life, for most live within a 70 projection, around 70, so your mid-years can be a time when even greater emotional challenges comes into play as you face most of your crises, yes, your menopauses, male and female, and thus your emotions go flying out the window because you are rediscovering who you are. What then to do but to surrender into a higher perception of yourself as part of all that island? May the light of the living Christ be with you now and always, and know that not now or not ever can you be alone. I am Kuthumi, I am the Lord and Master Kohan of the Golden Rays and Love and Wisdom, and I greet and I bless you for you to surrender into your higher emotions now and always. Adonai.